Welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to Starting the Conversation. I'm your host, Alice Benham, joined this week by the brilliant Lauren Currie, founder of Upfront, and as we'll discuss today, many other things as well. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Alice. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so
excited
excited to be here and be doing things in person.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long, long time.
Nothing beats it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, one of my favourite things about meeting people in person is seeing how deeply does their brand go. And you really match the brand. You turned up in red tartan, which I feel not only matches the Scottish element, but also Upfront's branding. You fit the brief.
Thank you. I did travel today, so I was on brand.
You knew what you needed to do.
Yeah.
It's the benefit, isn't it? If you build a brand that's just very related to you.
I know, because people say, like, what was the strategy for red? I'm like, there wasn't one. I just really like it. It's like you with black, and then once you like it, it's kind of easy to... You would really fit in Sweden. That's the Swedish national outfit. Well, Stockholm, for sure. It's like black head to toe with a splash of white every now and again.
I've been considering a few months in Sweden/Stockholm for a while.
Yeah, well... I'd love to hang out and show you around.
Yeah, because context for people listening, you live there.
I do. I moved there 2 years ago.
Question, just mainly out of my own curiosity. Why Sweden?
I did a bit of work with a school there, which you'll find super interesting, I'm sure. It's called Hyper Island.
Okay.
Have you heard of them?
I don't think I have.
So they're a school that exists to bridge the gap between creative education and creative industries. And their origin story is super cool. Started on an island in an old prison.
Wow.
In Sweden. No teachers, all the content taught by practitioners, and like very focused on team dynamics, culture stuff. And so probably early 2000s, I was invited to teach at their school in Stockholm as like a service design practitioner. And so came over and just fell in love with the Scandi way.
Yeah.
And also, if I'm honest, the Scandi men.
I won't lie. They've got some good genes.
Yeah, I wasn't as strong a feminist then as I am now. So I was like, maybe I can find myself a Swedish boyfriend and then I'll be able to move here. And so fast forward, met my partner on OkCupid, which I don't even know if that still exists.
Wow, so retro.
I know. And in this picture is like long hair, big beard, like really tall, waving a Swedish flag. So I was like, yes. This is my route to Sweden. And then as we were chatting, he's like, oh, I'm actually from Liverpool.
He catfished you.
I was like, oh, fuck's sake. So he'd just got back from doing his master's in Sweden. So he studied there for 2 years. And so as we met and fell in love and started thinking about our life together, it was always a kind of, we would really love to live there. And then the second time the Conservatives got in, we were like, we can't stay here. We don't want to be in... We were in London at the time. And so the options were, do we go back to Scotland to be closer to my family, or do we go to Sweden? So we decided to make the leap, and then flights booked, apartment sorted, and then COVID came. So we were like living in... Are we going to get there? Are we not? Will we be able to move? Will we not? And then when the second lockdown lifted, we left. And I think something crazy like 6 days later, the Swedish government changed the law because of Brexit to mean that anybody coming to live in the country needed to have a Swedish employer, which of course we don't have. We both work for my company.
Yeah.
So we just made it.
Oh gosh, that's amazing.
In the nick of time. And my wee boy was 2 when we moved, and now he's... can speak Swedish fluently and goes to Swedish school. And
I will say your Instagram is a great advert for Sweden. The views,
yeah,
the cold
I feel like
water
the tourist
swimming.
board should be like hitting me up.
You need a bit of a sponsorship deal for sure.
Yeah,
very interesting. I love that. Let's maybe start at the start because something I'm always really interested in is obviously people come on this podcast are incredible experts in their fields. So you're a real expert when it comes to confidence, gender equality, leadership. You do so much of that through Upfront. I've been in one of the bonds. I can attest to your brilliance in that area. But alongside your expertise there, you're also a very accomplished business owner. And Upfront hasn't been your first business. So right back to the start, what was your first step into entrepreneurship?
For me, I was really lucky in that I found my thing. You know, everybody talks about like, what is that thing that lights a fire in you and makes you feel really excited? I found that really early while I was at school. And I think due to having a fantastic art teacher, Mr. Grant.
Shout out.
I know, love him. He kind of introduced me to the world of design, like this idea that every single thing we use and touch has been designed by somebody. And this just like blew my mind. And I remember him showing me a portfolio of somebody in the year above me who'd redesigned a TV remote control so that somebody with arthritis could use it more easily. And that was, to me, to think we can make things in a way that will help people was just amazing. So I became obsessed with like James Dyson and Philippe Starck, and I mean, yes, all white men, because I guess that was the canon that I was exposed to, but like designers who had paved the way in making things beautiful and functional. So I went to university to study product design, and then really quickly into my studies had another kind of pivotal moment where I got a lecture about design against crime. So it's this idea that the way you design spaces can influence how people behave in that space. Therefore, you can design environments to reduce crime. You can design environments for people with neurodiversity to feel more comfortable, or whatever these things might be. And that was just amazing to me to think, okay, it's not just about products and objects, it's about whole experiences, like how we do healthcare, how we do education, how we do fitness, how we do learning. And at the time, service design was a very small, kind of quite immature field. I could probably name the names of all the top like most active 50 people in that field at the time, because it was still so emergent. And I really used that to my advantage. Being a student, it meant I could make friends with them and get to know them and learn from them, and everybody was very generous and welcoming. And that was how I became kind of part of the service design industry. And then I set up one of the UK's first service design for social change consultancies with a business partner. So that was my first business, and I ran that for about 7-8 years.
And how old were you when you started that business?
I was 23.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So to ask you the question I always get asked and never quite know the answer to, how was it starting a business young and female?
I think I was very naive to the barriers that I did face, to the extent that I didn't notice I was facing them. And I think obviously, being white makes that conversation a very particular one. But for me, I think ageism was always the biggest. That was the one that I felt the most, more than sexism or kind of any other bias. Like there was a lot of, this is nice and cute, but like just wait till you fall in love, or wait till you have a baby, or wait till you grow up a bit, and then it won't go so well. I would email with people for a long time and then meet, and you would always see that moment of them being like, shit, this, like, not, they obviously just didn't expect me to look like what I looked like, or to be the age that I was. But yeah, looking back, I think I had absolutely no idea what I was signing up for, which probably was a good thing.
Yes.
Because if I'd known, I'd have ran in the opposite direction, probably.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that. I think one of the superpowers of starting young is the naivety, where like I just had no expectations, no understanding of what I was getting myself in for.
Yeah.
So you just kind of throw yourself at it, don't you?
Totally. And I think also you have so much less to lose. Like looking back now, I think especially since I've had a baby, it's like that cliche thing of, I just had so much time and so few responsibilities. And that meant that, the hours I put in, it just consumed my whole life. Yeah. And I think now looking back, I guess that was like the decade of my 20s. I do feel a tiny bit of sadness sometimes that I kind of missed out on the freedom that comes with that lack of responsibility, because I